I'm not sure Harry is a person who's ever had a game plan in his life, but I do think he would like to reconcile. I think he is aware of the difficulties it makes for him, also the impersonal pain that it causes him, and I think he thinks it would also help his reputation. But I think that's a kind of a third level of consideration. I think the personal ones are far more important. And he said publicly, for him to say publicly that he would like to reconcile with his family in that BBC interview after he lost the security court case was very significant. So, yeah, I think anyone would. It continues to cause pain, this rift in the family. And, you know, Harry is a kind of very empathetic guy, feels things very strongly. And I think he'd like to remove that source of pain.
And I think two things that Val picked up on there, that losing the Court of Appeal case is significant because that marks the end of that battle with the Home Office over his security. That then makes it easier for the King to enter into dialogue with his son without being seen to be compromised. But also, he really does want to have that reconciliation now. The tone had shifted in that interview in the BBC from Harry demanding an apology from his family and saying it hasn't been forthcoming to actually talking about the fact that he thinks they probably won't forgive him. Certain members of the family won't forgive him. And I think that tone is very notable and perhaps makes it slightly easier for some kind of initial dialogue to begin.
Well, they were telling us, well, we understand that it's about getting rid of the conflict, and there's been a lot of conflict over the last couple of years, right? So it's about deconflicting, I think was the phrase. But you mentioned about the BBC interview. I mean, that was disastrous for Harry because, you know, it's not a secret. We were going to run in the paper the next day saying that the King was open to, you know, opening the door to Prince Harry, depending on how he reacted. And then he came out with that disastrous BBC interview. Do you think that the King is right to accept this now, after everything that's gone on, after all the insults, after this BBC interview that, you know, he really did burn down the olive tree there, I think, for a while? Do you think the King's right to allow or know that his teams are speaking to Harry's team?
That BBC interview is another example of Harry not having a game plan, isn't it? Because it wasn't meant to go like that, was it? They weren't expecting to get any more than, you know, 5 minutes or so, and he walked into a 30-minute stream of consciousness.
I mean, I've always said Harry has no filter, which is always the great thing about him and the terrible thing about him at the same time.
Yes, it was always refreshing, wasn't it, when things were going well. But of course now, and when you're on the other side and you're in a war with your family, that stream of consciousness, that lack of filter, has proved disastrous for family relations.
So can the King trust him? I mean, this is an offer of friendship. Should the King, if he doesn't have this filter and he has been guilty of lobbing insults and revealing secrets about the family in the past, should he accept this offer of friendship?
They say time heals all wounds. But in the case of Prince Harry, time has done little to mend the growing divide between him and the royal family. Now, sources say Harry's desperation to reconcile isn't just about emotion, it's about survival, reputation, and legacy. For all the glamour and grandeur, Harry remains a son, a brother, and a father. The first reason he needs to repair this royal rift is deeply personal. His family, the connection to his roots, his late mother's memory, remains a wound that never truly healed. Behind closed doors, insiders reveal that Harry feels the absence of family unity more than ever. And while Meghan's support is steadfast, it can't replace the bond he once shared with his brother. The second reason? Reputation. The global image Harry worked so hard to redefine is beginning to falter. Public fatigue is setting in. The once sympathetic prince is now being painted as isolated, bitter, and adrift. Hollywood's glitter fades fast, and without royal connection, the Sussex brand risks losing its shine. For Harry, re-establishing ties with the monarchy isn't just about family, it's about restoring credibility.
I mean, I think that Harry is not Machiavellian. He hasn't got a plan. You know, he doesn't want to betray. He doesn't want to betray his father. Yes, he betrayed all those secrets because he wanted to let things out in the Netflix documentary and in his book Spare. But I think Charles is primarily, in this situation, Charles is a father rather than a monarch. And I think that's very important. And he would like I think it causes Charles immense pain. There's this huge rift in his family. And he said as much. He doesn't want them to make his last years misery. So I think Charles will both want to explore this potential reconciliation, if that's what it is, and I think he's perfectly right to do so.
Do you think we haven't spoken about Meghan yet? The other half of the Montecito twosome. I mean, do you think that she could have a hand in this? Do you think she would be persuading Harry? Is there anything for Meghan to get Harry back on better terms with the royal family, particularly the king?
I mean, Meghan is someone with a game plan, isn't she?
Yes.
And nothing happens by accident. And I think Harry relies on Meghan for a lot of guidance through life, particularly now that he doesn't have everybody else around him to steer him. But Meghan's got her own plan now, and Meghan's got her own business, as ever, and her series with Love Meghan, which is coming back for a second series. She's got her plan. What is Harry's? And I think he does look lost, and he does look isolated in Montecito, away from his family. And his father's health is certainly a big wake-up call. But I think for these talks to happen, keeping it to the aides at this stage, and then Harry to speak to his father one-on-one will be really important, because there's a big trust issue here as to what they say in those meetings and where that ends up.
And the third reason is legacy. For Prince Harry, the story doesn't end with him, it continues with his children. Archie and Lilibet may one day ask questions about where they come from and why their family remains divided. Every generation of royals leaves behind a legacy. For Harry, reconciliation could mean more than forgiveness, it could mean rewriting how history remembers him. But rebuilding bridges isn't simple. The king remains cautious. William, distant. Any step toward reconciliation must be genuine, not strategic. Because at this point, words alone won't heal royal wounds, only action will. So, is Harry truly desperate? Perhaps. But maybe, this desperation is what the monarchy needs. Because sometimes, it takes a prince on the outside to remind the palace of the humanity within its walls.
So do we think a one-on-one could now happen? And what do you think would be discussed if they went ahead?
Oh, to be a fly on the wall.
I mean, there's so much to discuss. Okay. I'm not sure even where to begin.
I'd have to book out a whole week.
I mean,
is all we're saying, not a one-day summit.
How are you, Dad?
Yeah. Yes.
Because, he really doesn't know how his father is doing.
But I think any reconciliation still ends up with Harry and Meghan and their family living in California, and I think that's fine.
Yeah. There's no coming back to do any royal duties. That's not on the table.
Yeah.
Do you see it, though, Matt, that there's no coming back to do any royal duties? Or could we end up in a scenario which is closer, actually, to what Harry and Meghan wanted in the first place, where they are living in Montecito, but they can come back for the big events. They can come back for some of the charitable endeavours that they're involved
It wasn't long ago that he was able to come back to Platinum Jubilee, and it wasn't actually that tense. I remember doing it. It's got more tense since. There's been more conflict.
They did get booed when they came out on the steps of St Paul's, though.
Yeah, but I think it's got worse over the last couple of years, and I think that's what they're aware of, and they just want to just take the sting out of it, and that's what I assume is Harry's aim in all this, but I think that Buckingham Palace should be a little bit nervous about what you say. Yes, it doesn't have a game plan. I think they need to be nervous about fully. If you build a bridge, with someone, it's great, but you've got to be careful who comes over it. And I think that's what the royal family have got to be careful.
Although I'm not sure that keeping them at arm's length has really paid off for them.
And there's also the interesting question, which is I express cynically, but also true. Is this going to sell more jam for Meghan?
Yeah.
If they reconcile, if their relationship with the royal family becomes one more of warmth, I think it can only do Meghan's reputation good in the States. And I think it would help her expand brand Meghan, which is what she wants to do.
Because she's always been seen as this, antagonistic, causing lots of troubles in the royal family. If suddenly it's happy families again, she doesn't have that role. She needs to have positive press. She needs to have people in America liking her rather than believing that she's the kind of problem in the family. So yeah.
And for both of them, it does work in their favour in that regard. But I think to talk about happy families is probably an almighty leap, where we're just making very tentative tiptoe steps at the moment.